Thank you so much for joining us here on Good Vibes with me, your host, Philomena, and my guest, who I'll be introducing in just a bit. Be informed, be inspired, be entertained, be encouraged. So, here's my guest, Laila. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Philomena, for having me.
Oh, I just feel blessed having you.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
So my guest is a motivational speaker and a life coach, specializing in communication agility and emotional intelligence. That's a lot.
It is.
It sounds
It's
like a lot.
Whoa, it's a mouthful and a half. Don't want to chew on that too
All
hard.
right, yeah, we're gonna dig into that a little bit. But on today's topic, I wanted to talk about life's journey and how we go through a healing process. And so, I've got the right person here. Obviously, all my friends and my guests are the most intelligent and awesome people in the world. So, let's get into that.
Mutual.
Yeah. So,
Healing.
healing, yes,
Mm.
that's the subject.
Mm.
But tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So, I am a mother of 3 beautiful girls, a wife to a beautiful husband, and a mother to also 2 fur babies. So I've got 5 babies.
Yeah.
A daughter, a sister, an auntie, a friend.
Mhm.
I'm all those things and me. And I found my purpose in, I've always been a person who has a serving heart, a servant's heart, always. I was the kid growing up who got in trouble because I was always helping people. Even when it was beyond me helping, I had a natural inclination to want to help. And I've done many careers that served and fulfilled elements of that need, but not fully on a deeper, purposeful level until 5 years ago. Yeah, so 5 years ago is where we met also.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes. And I was on that journey from before. When we talk about healing, it's not like there's a catalyst or an epiphany. I think it's an awakening within us that grows. And so I think that there were these trigger moments or sparked moments that created the catalyst for the next healing journey, until I had enough of that internal work and healing to recognize the next milestones. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so 5 years ago, I was on that journey where I made that decision. I made the decision, this is what I want to do. This is my purpose. This is what I'm passionate about. And oh my God, I can get paid for it. Is that a thing?
That's the best.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Like I had looked years before at like motivational speakers and looking at their background story, and I was like, oh, I haven't climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and been bitten by a tsetse fly and nearly on the brink of death as I've had to be carried down by the tribe members, or I didn't go up to Everest and lose half my limbs and nearly freeze to death, and now I have a story to tell. I didn't have this dramatic catalyst that plummeted me into a public eye or a desire to share. I just felt like, well, it's just me. And I have a story that's probably like many other people's story, even though my story is unique to me. Who's gonna listen? And so, that started the journey of me, first of all, deciding that I was gonna do it in spite of whatever limiting awareness, beliefs, limitations that I had. And I'm so happy that I took a chance on myself.
Yeah. Obviously, doing what you do, you've had to like grow and learn through so many experiences. What are some of those like significant learning experiences that have led you to be a specialist in the field that you are in today?
If I was going to pinpoint one, and this is, once again unique to me. Let me backtrack, because my brain went, really? Is that the truth? I think falling in love, because I was going to say motherhood to start off with. But motherhood was kind of like the final stop. If we were like in the Hogwarts train,
Yeah.
it was like I was at the station at 9:30. What is that? In Hogwarts, in Harry Potter. Like I was at the station, but I don't think I arrived until motherhood. However,
Yeah.
the journey began probably when I really fell in love and got married for the first time.
Okay.
I think that was the beginning of the healing process, because up until then, I was looking for something or someone to be the healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the healing was never in that. There is no healing in an external source. And I think that's where most of my clients come from. Where they're, and when we fall in love, we're looking for that other person to give us something that we aren't able to find within ourselves, not realizing it's always been there. We just didn't take the time and the energy and the investment to go and find it.
Yeah. That's so smart though, because not everybody thinks like that. Yeah, and you can just continue chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing, and then you did say initially motherhood. Was it the fact that you had produced replicas of yourself and you thought you want a better life for them, or what was it about motherhood that also played a part in you wanting to be a better version of yourself?
Motherhood, like I said, was like the final destination of like, all right, you've arrived. You've arrived to where you want to be.
Okay.
Where are you going now? Which direction are you going to take? Like, you get off at the destination, and now what? Because I think that for a lot of women, not all women, there's this desire to want to have kids. Whether you want to do it better because, you know, maybe you had a really bad bum deal of an upbringing, or you were just inspired to want to have that connectiveness, that love, a lot of times that people feel that they didn't give, that they want to give to a child. There's so many reasons why people want to be a parent. However, when the reality happens and you have these little humans that are from you but not you, it's kind of like I said, you arrive to that destination where it's like, well, now what am I going to do with this? Because there is a huge amount of responsibility, self-awareness, self-conviction, leveling up, growth, all these things that, like, you think you're doing it, however, your kids call you out on your crap. And at the end of the day, they are a mirror reflection of all of the things that you haven't done for yourself. They're the real true reflection of where you're not showing up.
Yeah.
Because it manifests itself in everything that they become.
Yeah.
So, you know, when they're having tantrums and they're acting out, it's not because the kid's got a problem. It's because I have a problem with delivering them what they need in the right amount of dose. And so that's what parenthood gifted me, was like, what are you going to do with this?
Yeah.
Like, how is this investment going to turn out? Are you one of those people, like with many, like my love investments, where I just thought, well, it's not meant for me.
Yeah.
And so I was very lucky that, because parenthood or motherhood didn't come easy, and when it came and I finally got that wish, God blessed me with that gift. It was like, okay, I need to have a little bit of a chat with myself now. Because, you know, you go off on the road of doing what you know what to do. We are all creatures of habit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was actually thinking along the same lines, because we're on the subject of, you know, life's journey and the healing process of that. And everybody does need to go through that. Their injuries are different, and when it comes to sort of like emotional injuries, it's hard to tell where it's coming from. um, what can you say to make it simple about recognizing the injuries that people carry emotionally?
Most of the time, the injuries that have been really significant to molding and shaping our world and our reality
Yeah.
are the things that we didn't even notice. I mean, sometimes it's obvious.
Yeah.
However, there are also a lot of unconscious things that have been embedded in us that we're not aware of, that we just factor into the fact that this is just me. And so I think one of the basic fundamentals that most life coaches or psychologists, psychiatrists will teach or educate people on is that the fact that we live in a meaningless world. We live in a meaningless world. That is such a like that concept. When someone said that to me, I was like, what are you talking about? We live in a meaningless world because nothing has meaning except what we give it. We define the meaning of our world and the things in and around it.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent, otherwise. And so I think when we start to slow everything down and dial in, it's like the radio station. You tune in to a specific station, but that station is 101.me. And I start to question what I give meaning to.
Yeah.
You looked at me that way, so you must be angry with me. Where is that coming from? Are you really angry with me? Because we do a lot of mind reading also. But if I said to like, hey, are you upset with me? And you'd probably go, no. Why do you think? Oh, because you gave me a look that made me, oh no, that wasn't. So then I have to question, so what about your look that you gave me is making me give meaning to the fact that you're upset with me? Because it all comes from somewhere. And so I really help my clients to understand their thinking that triggers emotions or sensations or feelings, or the sensations and feelings that they are or not aware of, that then create the behavior. And whether or not then the behavior gives you or gives them the result that they're looking for. Because a lot of times we're not happy with the results that we're getting, not realizing that we are the catalyst to create those results. We are creating those results for ourselves a lot of the time. But we disempower ourselves by giving the control to external factors. It's always somebody else or something.
Yeah.
And so that was really difficult. And I'll tell you a story, because when going back to my kids, in the very early days, even before I even knew that I was going to have the life and the career that I have now, I had one of my children, I won't name them.
You know yourself.
Yeah, but one of my children, and this is in the early days, was very challenging. That was my test, that they were very challenging. There was not any, like someone said to me, oh, I would bribe her. They'd be like, hey, if you do this, I'll give you that. Have you heard parents say this?
Yeah.
You eat your dinner, you can have.
Yeah.
If you go over there and you be quiet, if you get into the swimming pool and you do your lesson, there were all these like incentives to conform and to behave the way I wanted her to. But she wasn't buying it. She was like, forget your incentives, still not doing it. And it was like, ugh, how do I get you to do it? So that was my challenge. And it went on. And it got to the point where I was exhausted, I was exasperated. Nothing I was doing was working. There were many nights and days that I was, beside myself, emotional, blaming myself. Why did I get the bad kid? Why did I get the kid who was challenging me? What do I do? And so I started pulling in resources. You know, you get the OT in, and you get the counselor in, and you're speaking to the school because the school's coming to you. Like
Okay.
her headstrongness was not just at home. It was being scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
But she was letting people know I row my own boat.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful attribute.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to smother it or stifle it, because that's what also society does. And how was I going to like navigate her or steer her in a positive direction for herself and for me? So the point of the story is that somebody came to my house. I had someone come to my house, and I was like just wrapped up in all of this. She does this and she does that. And she. And poor me. Look at me. I'm the one who's getting the aftermath of like what this little person is like tormenting me. My life. And this person turned to me and said, "We've got some wonderful courses and classes for parents." And I nearly broke my neck. I was like, what? It's like my neck snapped off. I brought it back to like, what?
Am I the problem?
No, that didn't even come to my head. I'm like, what are you talking about? Did you just hear everything I just said? Like, you know, it was like we were speaking a whole nother language. Like, that was not like what I was ever expecting from her.
Yeah.
Yet that's what she delivered to me. And I was like, oh, thank you. Nice to meet you. There's the door.
Yeah.
In the most polite way.
Yeah.
And then turned to my husband and went, what the bleep?
Yeah.
Like, seriously? But that sat with me. And that's with a lot of people. It's like, well, what do you do with that then?
Yeah.
Because that awakened something in me that was then like, what was there truth there? What do you need to know there? She opened up the Pandora's box in an area that maybe on an unconscious level I had no awareness of until she actually poked it. And then I started threading things together. That then made me go, okay, I got to do some work on myself.
Yeah.
And thank goodness I did. And I thank Gail is her name. Thank you, Gail, for that very insightful, like, we didn't go into conversation. She just kindly and respectfully said, hey, have you considered this?
That's amazing. And I love the fact that you, through your what you've said and sharing your on individual experiences, of what I'm picking up is that you can't actually pinpoint how your healing is going to come. And just through life, and everybody talks about, like, it's become like a popular thing, you know, I'm healing, and people are
I'm on a
searching
healing journey.
They're searching everywhere, which is good, because then means people are taking responsibility for their own.
Are they? Because a lot of times still we're externalizing it. I'm going to go on this retreat. I'm going to go and do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, it's like going to a candy shop and I'm going to try each one of these candies.
Yes, exactly.
But I try so many of them. Which
That's
one's the one that
yeah,
I'd like?
That's why I wanted to ask. What is the right attitude towards you wanting to heal from whatever, even just grow? Like,
surrender.
What is the
Surrender. Surrender to the fact that you don't know.
And how does that look like?
What is the source of your affliction? We all have conscious awareness of pain and hurt and sorrow and guilt and anger and fear that we have. But what is going to be that trickling effect or that spiral that leads us to the source to be able to create that inner peace or that groundedness or that sense of empowerment or wholeness, whatever word you want to give to describe what it is that you are seeking. And sometimes you don't even know it until you have it. You don't even know what was missing. It was like when you're cooking a meal and you know it's not right.
Just throw some spices.
You know, yeah, or you go, hey, can you try it? You need someone else to see what you, because when we're inside the jar, you can't see the label. So you cook it and you're like, something's off. Something's not balanced. And I don't know what it is, and I don't want to ruin it because it's there, but it's not there yet. And you don't know until somebody else comes along and goes, what about that? And then you go, yeah, I'll put a little bit of vinegar in it. Maybe it needs a little bit of acidity. Oh, actually, the salt's enough, but might need there might be something else that you just don't think about. Then you go, yes, and it's that final ingredient. It's the same thing with healing. I think we have to surrender to the fact of like, we don't know. But if we put into ourselves, not externally, put into ourselves, tune and dial in, once again, like that radio station, really channel in, like, I'm going to free fall into me, for me, not for anyone else or to gain anything else other than your own closeness, your own connectivity. And because of social media, I think we've given up that dialing in ability a lot more unless we've safeguarded. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a channel that everyone can listen to. It's not like you're just going to share it out. It's something that's sacred that we have to like cultivate, nurture, but keep for ourselves. But like, I know myself. People say, I know myself. It's like, do you really know yourself? Do you know what your triggers are? Do you know what your limitations? Do you know what your boundaries are that you will and will not yield on? Do you know what you value beyond anything else? Or some of the values that, you're still working on and adapting to, that you're willing to like relent on depending on certain circumstances. Most people, including myself, had no idea. And all of these things contribute to who we be and that healing process. Because things keep happening to us and we go, but I did this. I'm trying to not let people take advantage of me. So I do these things, and it's like, okay, that's great. So what do you need to know if people are still taking advantage of you or hurting you, but you think that you're doing all the things to safeguard yourself, but it's not working or not working fully because you're still attracting those people. You're attracting them. They're not looking you up in a directory. You unconsciously are attracting people in your life. And that's a hard pill to swallow too. It's like, I'm attracting all the wrong people. So what do I need to know about myself so I attract the right people? And it's all about tuning into that radio station and making sure that it's not crackly. You're not between stations. You're literally hearing the message loud and clear back to yourself.
It's amazing. Well, amazing sharing there, Laila. And you have spoken about people recognizing and surrendering, recognizing where they are, surrender. That's a powerful word, surrender in every situation. I feel like is empowering other than, stripping you of. It's more empowering than that. But also when you say that, you did allude to the fact that you do not know somebody else might recognize that. And this is where like the importance of your job, therapists, coaches come in. How do people recognize like where to find people who would support them through that healing process?
It's a good question. And everyone is different. I think that when we get to a point, and this is in psychology, where the pain of being where you are outweighs the gain of where you're deciding to stay. It's like for when you want to lose weight and a person goes, I've just tried all these diets and it's not working. I need to go and find out further and go to a doctor and do some blood tests or do something different than what I've always done to get the outcome. And relationships, the clients that I coach through relationships, it's the fact that either they don't want to be in a relationship because the relationships always turn out the same, even though it's a different person, it's the same outcome, it doesn't work, and they're not aware of what they're doing wrong. Or people who are in a relationship and the relationship has got elements where they keep coming back to the same thing over and over again. And they're trying all the things that they think they should be doing, reading books and maybe going and seeing a counselor, a relationship therapist, and it's just not happening. And so I think those are the general ideas, or it's something inside of you that either we decide to listen to or we don't decide to listen to, that will then open that floodgate of doing the work that we need to do internally. I think people start off, including myself, with looking outside of us to create the happiness, and then when we're not getting that feeling that we're happy, but we're working so hard to obtain the happiness, whatever area, work-wise, friendships, relationships, intimate relationships, family. Either two things will happen. A person will go, oh, I've done everything I can and I'm done. So I'll draw a line in the sand and decide that I'm not meant for this thing, which is a story we need to tell ourselves so our neurology is okay with it. Just letting everyone know it's a story, not the truth. We give it meaning so then we can accept it. Because to not accept it means that then you're going to keep trying to pursue that thing that you haven't made a decision on yet that you either want or don't want. So we need to make a decision. And even when we think we're not making a decision, we're making a decision. So it's like, I don't want to decide. Well, by you not deciding, you're deciding. It's just a passive decision because you're not taking action on one thing or another. And so I think that is the main crux of listening to and coming, like I said, going back to that dialing in to either your behavior, your thinking, or your emotions, and whatever it is that you keep receiving that you're not happy with. You want to change. And maybe you've tried to change it and you're not getting anywhere. Then it's like, okay, well then go and get some help. If it's not, once again, I'm not going to poo-poo doctors. Doctors are amazing and all the education and everything that they do. But I think that we also are in this culture whereby I'll go to the doctor and say, oh, doctor, I'm going through a really bad spot at the moment where I'm just really emotional. And I don't know, and this is a true story, I don't know what's going on with me. Because I can't stop crying and I should be happy, but I'm not happy. And so what do I do? Because I go to the doctor because I can't figure out why I'm just so emotional. The doctor goes, here's some antidepressants. 9 times out of 10 we go, thank you, doctor. It does make us feel better because it bypasses all of the stuff that we are feeling and blocks it, numbs it. It doesn't resolve it. Still there in the shadows, still there lurking. And so either we want to become those type of people who become codependent on just managing, self-managing through prescription drugs, or going, okay, maybe it's got to the point where I need them because I need to get my mental state, my physical state to a point where I can manage. Because sometimes we get out of control and we don't feel that we can manage, or we can't see a way out. So yes, they will be helpful. And then decide, once again, decision, I'm going to come off of these because I feel that I'm strong enough and capable enough to now do something else. So it's like the prevention or the cure. Do you want to just stay in prevention, or do you want to eventually find the cure, which is the healing, to whatever affliction you're experiencing?